next series of questions all seem to pertain to property taxes. In particular, there are folks wondering why we rent our own property in the form of property taxes, or we can lose them. And there's an awful lot of concern about why St. Joe County, in particular, doesn't have the same caps that everyone else has. And finally, there are questions about, do you think we should put those caps of 1%, 2%, 3% in our state constitution? So I guess there's a general question about property taxes, should we have them at all? Another one about why are ours higher than everyone else's in the state? And finally, do you think the property tax cap amendment is the solution? So if you can field that cluster of questions, Ron Cenkush?
I'd like to go first and just simply say, I'm with you. I'm asking the same questions. I mean, guys, somebody else take the shot here because I've been asking those things for quite some time, and I'd like to find the answers to those as well.
All right.
I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but I may have to speak twice on this one. One thing to remember about property tax caps is that maybe a maxim that goes something like this: when you're in a hole, stop digging. And more of this state, and especially St. Joe County and Lake County, became overly reliant on the growth of property taxes. So what the property tax caps did was to try to stop digging the hole and to try to find other sources of revenue to help local communities and schools. Now, one of the points that was raised in the earlier session was that there's a referendum allowance within that. So that's one of the reasons why the people themselves will have the opportunity to amend that through a referendum if they so choose to do so in the future. So it's also the case, so that's one reason I think I'm not that concerned about some of the downsides of putting the caps into the Constitution. Other states, by the by, have different forms of capping in their Constitution. So this isn't really a unique thing to do. But I think there's nothing to preclude us getting rid of and lowering property taxes in the future once we've stopped the digging. And so I think that's the process that's going forward may at some point result in that. There has been proposals to get rid of all property taxes, and there's been proposals to get rid of only property taxes on homes. And usually when they say get rid of property taxes on homes, what happens is that there's also a fee proposed for things like fire, police protection, other types of services that are received. So be a little careful about when you're thinking about this. So remember that there can be these fees assessed that aren't necessarily called taxes, but still are attached to your owning the home. So that's an element I just wanted to throw out there for your consideration along with the whole issue. And again, let other guys talk on this as well.
Okay, Representative Jarvis and Timothy Wesco.
Well, as a recent homeowner, I also feel the fact that I feel like I'm renting my house from the government through property taxes. This is one of the issues that got me first out in 2007. If you remember, that's when everyone was assessments skyrocketed. That's when people saw bills double. People were mad. And through the leadership of some of the legislature, including Senator Zakas, we've seen the introduction of the 1, 2, 3 property tax caps. At the time in 2007, I was pushing for the total elimination of property taxes along with Jackson Rorski. And in principle, I still believe that we shouldn't have to rent our property from the government. The government should never be able to take private property away from its citizens. That is a foundation, that's a principle of this nation, is private property. We ought to be able to own it. At the same time, I recognize that, as Senator Zakas said, we've got to work where we're at. I'm sure you're all familiar with the 1, 2, 3 property tax caps. I support them, but I think we need to do more. We need to control the assessments. Because right now you see local governments, and when they spend a certain amount, they've got to collect that amount in one way or another. And quite frankly, I don't trust most of our local county assessors' offices. And I've seen it over and over and over again.
They will jack up the assessments to get the money they need, and if you don't challenge it, you will pay it. That's not right. I've seen numerous situations where people have challenged the assessments, and almost every one they have won. So I think that's an indicator right there of the problem. The basic problem is out of control spending. The solution at the legislature level is to somehow cap those assessments, somehow control that so it can't be abused.
A few years ago, I forget how many, our property taxes were just over $4,000. And I don't own a $400,000 home, I guarantee you. Not as a pastor and a professor at Bethel. They're much lower now. My concern initially and immediately is to have a level playing field and make property taxes in St. Joe County the same as they are in the other 90 counties in the state, so that at least businesses will come here and people will buy homes and live here. Beyond that, then, we can begin to look at what we might do in changing things. We all know we have to have government. We all know we have to pay taxes. We all know that we're not really sure what is the best way to do that. States have a lot of different ways. But I think the first thing we need to do is have a level playing field so we can get businesses here in St. Joe County.
Picking up where the comments about the assessors left off, the Libertarian Party actually has a proposal to deal with unfair assessments of properties' values, and what that is to place properties into different categories, commercial, residential, industrial categories, and within those categories to have flat square foot rates for property. That way we do not leave property assessments up to the subjective views of individual assessors, but it's a fair, flat rate for everyone. So I'd like to suggest that. And then additionally, that's a short-term solution. We do have to emphasize these caps, but also we must eventually, in my opinion, eliminate property taxes altogether, and I think we can do it. And I don't think it'll be easy. I think it will be quite difficult actually for the government to do this, because it's always difficult to grapple with taxes and budgets, but it's better that the government be faced with those difficulties than individuals be faced with the difficulty possibly losing their property or their livelihood.
Greg Dudeck.
Once again, as a business owner, I guess I am on the Republican ticket, but I have a lot of libertarian in me here, because I buy equipment in my building, not only the building, but the equipment in my building that I pay the real taxes on. So we're getting hit twice, and it is rent to the government, the way I look at it. And it's a substantial amount. Up until my assessments got reduced, we had to go through all of the processes with the lawyers and the audit, or the appraisers, and then bring the CPA into the meeting, and then we finally got it reduced so that it was less than my mortgage and my payments on my equipment. So, but it was at one time the taxes were more. So that's where I stand. I think 1, 2, 3 is a good start.
Okay. Next question up would be, Indiana has joined a Florida lawsuit contesting Obamacare. Do you favor Indiana asserting sovereignty if the health care bill or any other bill is deemed unconstitutional by the state of Indiana?
Absolutely. You know, there comes a time when you've got to stand up, and I think if anyone looks at Jackie Walorski and why she's running for Congress, that is the reason why. Because she realized there's only so much you can do on the state level if all of these federal mandates keep getting passed down on you and bankrupting your state. The increases that Obamacare is going to put into Medicaid, which is funded by the state, which means the money has to come from the state, is going to be $3.8 billion over the next 10 years. I, for one, am not looking forward to figuring out where to get that money from. We're not going to raise taxes. So what do? Right now, we need to work to, in whatever means possible, try every method, try every means to stop Obamacare in its tracks. Either repeal it or fight it out.
Just a quick plug here for Attorney General Greg Zeller. He decided to make that leap and go ahead and join a few other states, or several other states, in trying to fight that. So I commend him for doing that.
It's true. It's been written. Maybe you've seen it. Pelosi said we've got to pass this bill so we can find out what's in it. I guess that kind of shows you what kind of absolute chaos prevailed in the House of Representatives when this thing went through. I see a lot of people out there with some gray hair. I really feel for you when it comes to this piece of legislation. They're going to take over $500 billion out of you to take care of other people. That is not the contract that we built, that we thought we were getting when we got Medicare. That is something that I think is an insult to older people and to our intelligence when it comes time to vote. So when you go and vote, show them that you're very much aware of what they're doing.
It's an interesting discussion that we have on all of these things. There's fairly well, I think, universal agreement up here about what we're talking about. One of our concerns has been in regard to the non-payment of property taxes if people are financially unable to do so, that the government will take your property away from you. Now, just the opposite is happening under the health care bill in that the federal government wants to force you to buy something. That's another situation. It's completely opposite, but it is in the health care bill. Everyone will have to purchase health insurance. If you do not, you can be fined or at worst even imprisoned. So the government is even going further in intrusion into our life. I am for the present challenge to the law that the states are doing. It's going to flip a coin over whether they're going to win or not. If the states lose, I would be in favor of interposition, in which the states simply get together and say, no, we are not going to do it. Then the federal government would have to go to court on the other side, and it would be interesting to see how all of that would work out. I think what we see in the Tea Party and everything today is that people have had enough, taxed enough already, that's what T stands for, and it's time to quit. And if I could add one more comment, the reason the local Democratic candidates are not here is because they think they have election sewed up like they always have in the past. We have to show them otherwise on November 2nd.
I don't have much to add. I agree completely, but there is a rally in Indy on October the 16th for interposition. So if you can attend that, we want to make it a huge rally and show that we have a voice also as residents of the state and Indiana as a sovereign state.
Greg, I'm signing up for the bus trip down there over here. So.
Yeah, Tom Bryant has information over it. It's just that the government, what we want is the government or Indiana to position itself in between us and the federal government and their mandates. That's what this rally is about.
Thank you, Greg Dudeck.